Hi everyone, my name is Mandy Sutherland. Today I am going to go over some of the history of interstitial cystitis. I know that many people think that IC has been around for maybe 80 to 100 years. In fact, it's been around for centuries. I'm going to go over some of the history with you, and then maybe you can go over it with some of your family, your friends, and let them see a side of this that nobody understands. As I go through this, I'm going to go over a little bit more that I didn't have written down that people are just totally blown away about. And it will give you another idea of how serious this was before the doctors had the instruments to look inside of the bladder. Because this is some serious stuff. The earliest published record of IC was in 1836 by the Philadelphia surgeon Joseph Parrish. He documented the syndrome of chronic frequency, urgency, and pelvic pain. It was a contemporaneous diagnosis used to describe painful idiopathic disorders of the nerves. Now that had to be crazy back then, right? Okay, and that was a long time ago. I mean, think about it, 1836. We're in 2018 now. A lot has changed since then. Now here's another doctor. Dr. Philip Singh Physic. Now, if you want to look this doctor up, it's not spelt the way it sounds. Dr. Philip Singh, S-Y-N-G, Physic, P-H-Y-S-I-C-K. So Dr. Philip Singh's Physic applied this to patients with severe lower urinary tract symptoms with no discernible etiology, with most common etiology during the 19th century being bladder stones. In 1808, Dr. Physic developed a concept of bladder inflammation and a bladder ulcer that produced lower urinary tract symptoms in the absence of bladder stones. That was 1808, so we're going back a little bit further. By 1836, he had expanded his concept to include chronic frequency, urgency, and pain syndrome occurring in the absence of the demonstrable etiology. This is the earliest known descriptions of bladder inflammation and IC. Now get this. In 1918, the first cystoscopy in 1918 was done by Guy Hunter, MD. Hence the name Hunter's ulcers and Hunter's lesions. So those were named after a doctor. How cool is that? Not really, but you know what I mean. Now, I'm going to... Hold on. The fun of meds. But anyway, this is something that I have researched before with the history of IC that is very hard to find, and I had it saved on my previous laptop that got fried back in the late 1700s, early 1900s, and it's probably been going on way before that even. Women would complain about their pain in their bladders, the burning, the frequency, and everything. They would get put in mental institutions because people thought they were crazy. They didn't believe them. They were just cuckoo. These ladies would actually go as far as committing suicide back then. And it was sad. But the doctors wouldn't believe them. I mean, this is when doctors would go to your house and treat you. I mean, they were getting, like, what, whiskey for toothaches and things like that back then. But that's what they would do. They would look at these women and think they were Looney Tune. And they would put them in a mental institution. And think about the men who were having IC symptoms, who wasn't even diagnosed with prostate situations back then. I mean, think about that. Guys are harder to diagnose with IC even today. Think about them. They were in a mental institute as well. Is that the cause of their issues back then? Did they think that they were crazy too? I haven't seen anything online about that. It was mostly the women who were being put in the mental institutes back in the 1700s and 1800s, even as early as the early 1900s. Now think about this as well. Before we had indoor plumbing, they had the outhouses. At night, they wouldn't even go outside. They had the little pot they kept underneath the bed, if they were lucky and could afford a pot. They would pull the pot out and pee in it. Can you imagine living like that? We have so many new luxuries. We are so spoiled in today's society. We have a working toilet. We have toilet paper. We have pads. We have diapers. We have all these luxuries. We have medications. We have treatments that we can do to help IC. They didn't have any of that back then. Instead, they got thrown in the loony bin. That's what they called it. If you went to the psych ward, you were in a loony bin. Because no one wanted to believe that you had an illness causing you that much pain. This is part of history. Our medical history that our ancestors had to suffer through. And now, look at us now. We have so much more than they did back then. They had to suffer and fight to get anything, and yet nobody believed them. It was all in their head back then. And yet today, we still have doctors telling us the same freaking thing. It's all in your head. It's all in your head. Think about that. Thank you for watching my video.